I'd like to call upon the head of the Religious Zionist Party and Minister of Finance Bezalel Smotrich. Before I start, I'll read you a survey that was conducted for this conference. I'll read you two questions. This is by direct polls, Shlomo Filber's polling service. Are you for or against the establishment of a Palestinian state? 74% of the Israeli public was against, 20 were in favor, and 6 have no position. Are you for or against the voluntary relocation of Gazan population? 76% were in favor, 16 against, and 8 had no position. And a third question, after victory in the war, if it endangers our relations in the United States, should we hold on to the achievements? 49% say yes, 33% said we should adapt the achievements of the war together with the United States, and 17% said we should reach agreements with or an understanding with the United States. And my question is, aren't you worried that you'll be perceived as a leftist in the next elections? There is no right or left. Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for bringing me here. I am constantly amazed at the persistence and the ability to adhere to the right ideas. There are those who presented them as surreal, and they turned out to be the most realistic and the ones that correspond best with reality. I would like to agree and disagree with you, Amit. I would like to agree that those who are pushing today for discussions about the day after, it's difficult to escape the feeling that their goal is actually to prevent what can happen the day after, and that is absolute victory. There's no, it's no secret that there are those in the government who are pushing again and again to hold that discussion, and you can't escape the feeling that it wants to blur the focus of the real purpose here, which is to absolutely destroy the armies of these extremely savage people in Gaza and on the other fronts. And the Americans, too, on the one hand, support and give us what we need, but they also are giving us a bear hug. And we've seen it in the past. We've received American support, but the result was also we had to stop in the middle, and we were drawn into one round of fighting after another. On the other hand, I do think that not only to avoid the question or to answer the question, Peres's immortal question, what's your alternative? But if we had not given the keys of the Temple Mount to the Mufti and other things that we did, we would be in a different place. The fact that we were surprised and we had a great victory at that time in the Sixth Day, where we were unable to completely recognize the enormity, the enormousness of the miracle. And the other side is constantly positing surreal plans for the next day. And now when we look at Gaza, it's amazing. Again and again and again, the right is shown to be the one who was realistic, who looked directly at reality with eyes open, and the left turned out to be messianic and dreamers. Anyone who thinks that we can denazify Gaza within 2 years, that we can change the mindset of people in Gaza. And I have to tell you that Gaza is different from any other place that we have to fight. We have people who woke up in the morning and they want to murder and massacre. 3/4 of Gaza are refugees who were held by force under inhuman conditions and density and crowding and terrible conditions, and they were told, look, beyond the border at Jaffa and Haifa, that's where the solution is. That's the difficulty. So what's your plan for the day after? I'm saying that we don't have to look at the day after. I'm saying that we have to win, but we don't. There's no way we're going to turn these people in Gaza into Scandinavians, that we can suddenly engineer some foreign Emirati or Saudi government. The Americans tried it in Afghanistan and Iraq. It doesn't work. If we don't control the Gaza Strip, then those 2 million people who live there, they won't change their DNA overnight. There is a terrorist regime there, and they will come back and they will grow. We have to be there not only militarily, we have to be there civilly. It won't work otherwise. Where are the terror capitals in Judea and Samaria, Jenin and Nablus? In Jenin also, there's a refugee camp, and in Nablus they are deliberately kept in the refugee camps in order to stoke the fires of their hatred. I suggest we take a sober look at reality. I propose full Israeli control over Gaza, and in order for that to take place, there must be civilian settlement, because that's the only way the military can remain there over time. That's the best way and the most humane thing to do. And that's to do one thing, to open the doors of the prison. Other than the two judges of the accuser and defender, there are 15 judges from countries in Hague who care a great deal about the people of Gaza. There's only one thing they need to do. That's to open the gates of their countries to those who want, not by force. You saw Assisi from Egypt. Egypt pretends to care about the Palestinians and condemns us. But did you see the fence? It's like the fence of a prison. But they don't agree. Who doesn't agree? The 15 countries and Egypt, because their goal, if to speak truly, is anti-Israel. They don't really care about the Palestinians. Amit, I think it's very important to say the truth and to expose it. What we're seeing in Hague and what became clear on October 7th is that for our enemies, we're all settlers. It doesn't matter if you live in Gaza or Kfar Gaza, or in Kdumim or in Tel Aviv. We're all settlers, and we all have the same fate awaiting us. And for those enlightened countries who placed us and not Hamas on the witness stand, we're all war criminals, including Herzog, whom you mentioned, and everyone, the vast majority, the people who seek life, who can tell the difference between good and bad, light and darkness, we're all war criminals. I think, really, Amit, that the key to our victory, actual military victory, is determination and patience and belief in the justice of our cause. That's what we've seen in the past years, in the past decades. The Six-Day War was the great breakthrough, and the Yom Kippur War, it was a war with a huge victory, but it has always been positioned as a defeat. And there is an attempt to suppress the national spirit, but the world doesn't agree with us. So what should we do? We should continue fighting until the complete defeat of Hamas, with 2 million civilians. I'm telling you, they want to leave. It will happen, and the truth is stronger than anything. And the more we uncover this hypocrisy before the world, I believe that we can prevail over this challenge and open the gates of Gaza for the countries, for those who want to leave. And I'm looking at my watch, so I don't want to belabor the point. That is the approach of radical Hamas. We keep saying that Hamas must lose territory in order to sear the defeat in their minds and hearts. The civilian population for Hamas is cannon fodder. The fact that 2 million people live with a mindset of hatred, that's their weapon. And we have to take that weapon away from them. And that way we'll be able to destroy the idea. So when Netanyahu yesterday issued a video in English in which he promised two things: we have no intention of controlling Gaza permanently and certainly not to settle it. And we're not planning to transfer the population, even voluntarily. That's a little bit different from what you're saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not what he said. He said we're not going to occupy it forever. We cannot be occupiers in our own land. And he said we will not force anyone out. And that's true, too. We won't force anyone out. I just asked myself why he issued that video. Why did it come out in the alternative Twitter in English? I don't disagree with him. A nation cannot be an occupier in its own land. We will never be occupiers in Gaza, and we will not force anyone out.
What will you do with the Arabs of Judea and Samaria? So you know what, that is maybe a penny that dropped, maybe the most important one. I saw that survey. You know, there's no difference between the Nazis in Gaza and the Nazis of Judea and Samaria. I don't know if you should applaud these Nazis at all. But again, you know, who stands behind the process in the court in Hague? South Africa is a proxy? No, not at all. South Africa is a proxy of what is called the PA, the Palestinian Authority, which cannot, again, petition because it's not a member state. Look what Ashtia, the Prime Minister, said. South Africa was the one who promoted, again, it was the PA that promoted the process. And again, they are asking me to transfer money to the PA. What, we have to pay the hanger? But we will, and I said we will not transfer money to them at all, but this is the penny that dropped. We will transfer money to develop Judea and Samaria to make sure and ensure the security of those people who live there, who defend the entire Israel with their bodies, including Kfar Saba and Judea and Samaria, is our protective strip. It's a security strip. It's a Zionist strip. So what will you do with the Arabs of Judea and Samaria then? You know, if you haven't read, I'm sure you've read it, though. Again, I called it Tikva Achat, which is the plan of the Israeli right. I hope you've read it. And what I'm hoping that will happen with them is what will happen with the Arabs of Gaza, people who want to willingly live here under Israeli rule, people who do not, again, don't wish to destroy us or do not say that we have no right to exist. Wait, so who will they vote for? They will not have voting right at the beginning. It's very complex. But again, if they become true partners of ours, just like the Druze, then they'll be able to vote. It's a long process. It will take years. However, those who believe that they could live here and, you know, enjoy the prosperity and the progress that we have brought with us, and we, you know, dried the swamps and all the progress that we've made and built this land, but who thinks they can enjoy all that and be subversive? They are wrong. No, you went to the protest, right? It's against the Oslo Accords. We're basically the same age. I don't think anybody, you know, dreamt of the fact that one day will come and again there'll be 64-seat mandate against those who are, you know, against leaving Israeli territories. And, you know, nobody, you know, dreamt back then that Smotrich and Stroke and even Ben-Gvir, if we're allowed to say the name, will sit in a government. But again, with all these plans that you are telling us about, you understand that there's so many disappointed people who voted for the right, a full right-wing government, and all these beautiful words that you are describing, nothing is happening with all these words. Things are happening, actually. Why don't you look at, you know, the half full, the full half of the cup? Because look what is happening here. Again, I don't want to have, again, an election campaign. But what we've done in the Ministry of Defense is a revolution in terms of quality and quantity, and we're investing again 7 billion in roads in the area. And now, let's say we went into a time machine and went back, and people will tell us...
לא שומעים אותך.
מה?
לא שומעים אותך.
למה?
לא יודעת.
אתה שואל למה לא החלנו ריבונות? בבקעת הירדן. שאלה טובה, אבל זה נכון. תראו, הייתה הזדמנות מאוד גדולה לעשות את זה לפני כמה סבבים של בחירות, אני כבר לא זוכר כמה, ופספסנו אותה, וזה חבל מאוד.
And what a shame. Maybe, because maybe that's the only real solution that we have. I imagine, wait, just a minute. You know, imagine he had, again, a meeting with Netanyahu. Say, I'm in the Ministry of Finance. If you don't apply sovereignty, I will immediately. I don't think this is the way to impact. All I'm saying is that maybe you can understand in this backdrop why so many people are disappointed. Makes no difference. People say to themselves, the right-wing government, full right-wing government, look, it makes no difference.
We do a lot of good, and we're also a lot of moving away from evil. Unity is very important, and we have to be careful. We have to, of course, relate to what happened before. We have to look back and see who was realistic, who had their eyes open, and who warned, including in the months leading up to the war. You can look at the minutes of all the meetings and the comments.
People sometimes convince themselves that the Scandinavians in Gaza, across the fence were okay. Remember, Hamas is deterred. Remember that expression? And again, people deterred and warned again and again and again about the great danger. So why is the public, leaving this full rights government? What is your explanation to this? It's a pretty simple explanation. It was a very difficult year, and I think you can analyze it as well. I don't think the right should be engaged in, self-inflicting itself. And I don't think, again, people need our expressions to, we shouldn't just incriminate ourselves. But I think there were those people who said, okay, well, let's burn down the club. I don't want to maybe go back to that at the moment, but there was a terrible thing that happened. It was a terrible fault that happened on our watch. We have to give it some sort of explanation. I think that my personal introspection, I said that this at the beginning of the war, that we have to take responsibility, but now we have to be busy and focus on being victorious. I'm responsible for all the economical processes. And, hopefully in the home front as well, I'll be able to focus on that. And there will come a time for introspection. Again, it's a dilemma, because to say every morning, to say, okay, let me topple down the government. If it doesn't happen, I'm on the outside. You could do this time and time again, topple, build, topple over and build. But it doesn't work this way. Amit, you're a better historian than I am. I think that over time we have proven that with determination and perseverance and with patience, by the way, with understanding that we have to bring Israeli society to the right places. Riv's previous editor, he tweeted, again, an interview with from a few years back, 2021, 2022, less than 5 years ago, in which I said, we have to go back to Gaza and reoccupy it. What can we do? We need the Israeli public to be ready for this, and I hope it won't take too long. I hope the prices won't be too high so that the penny will drop. And he wrote that when he sort of edited this interview and he put the title, he said, this guy's hallucinating. But now he suddenly, he saw what happened. And I think that over time we have shown that with determination and perseverance and patience, we can achieve what we need. But it has to be done calmly and not, again, paying a very heavy price. And I think we are making great progress. We will continue to work hard. Hopefully we'll advance the state of Israel. We're in the battlefield. We have really come out glorious. And now let's talk about the style. The public is not transmitting that it wants a government that will express or convey the spirit. We don't want here to have, to be petty and go into petty fights. At least we don't want certain parts to embarrass, the people who are fighting at the moment on the field. Absolutely, unequivocally. I don't think that any one of us can, again, go back to the 6th of October. Again, once again, I don't, want to go to those places. I'm trying to be respectable, even when I have, there are differences of opinion. Even prior to the war, I try to be respectable. But I think we see a full devotion at the moment. We see a full unity, a brotherhood that only a battlefield can create. And we see it, among the hundreds of thousands of reservists and their family members, by the way. I met, again, the forum of the wives of the reserve soldiers. And again, it's placing, again, the reserve soldiers, right there to focus on them. We'll be building their resilience. And these are families that are helping with us. I mean, so many. But again, the reserve soldiers come from all over Israel, from all different sectors. And I think it's starting to this may be convergence around that survey, that there is some sort of broader common denominator, but they also expect us to manage our disputes and our fights in a more honorable fashion. It is our responsibility. We cannot go back to the 6th of October. Sorry, there's a question from the audience. I think how you behave, the politicians, impacts us. You're right, and also what's going on has impacted me. I think it's a formative event, if I may say, which, by the way, impacts everybody. I've been in the Knesset for 9 years. The experience in the Knesset is different. The atmosphere is different. But there is a media, by the way, that loves to focus on disputes and fights and exaggerate things. Don't forget that, I said before, no right, no wing. I don't accept that. There is right, there is left, there is truth, and there are lies. And sometimes people are in that as if unity is some sort of this magic potion, some sort of a formula. But it's not being uniform. It's not uniformity, it's unity. We cannot give up on different opinions. We cannot just be that doormat that everybody steps on, not at all. By the way, we've always respected the conflicting opinions. Will continue to promote our ideologies and our values, and these are not just ours, these are the good values of the state of Israel that will ensure its prosperity and its progress that will lead to a better future. I think we do everything that we do as messengers of the people of Israel out of great love for Am Israel, for the people of Israel, great responsibility for the nation. We are the least sectorial sector in Israel. We are the most general sector in Israel. And we actually care, we have compassion, we have empathy. Everything we do is out of a sense of mission, a great sense of mission. And we're not the only ones, by the way. We, again, can be proud of the great education that we give our children and to, again, rejoice in the fruits of our labor. About that segmentation of that survey, from, again, the Yesha, there is, again, a majority, 61% for, again, voluntary migration, and, again, 61% also against Palestinian government, and 69% are opposed, again, to the Palestinian state, and most are, again, for applying sovereignty. So yes, those orange people from the disengagement that were against disengagements, they were right. You see how realists, they were the realists. We have to convey this, again, not in a way that will create antagonism, saying, oh, we told you about the disengagement. We told you what would happen. But again, we do have to reflect the truth. And I think, Amit, you and your peers, again, have the responsibility to get rid of those masks, because at the end of the day, there is right, there is a political left, there are people who have to promote certain ideas, and there are people who do the opposite, maybe because, again, they understand where the public sentiment is, and again, they are afraid of what they are seeing, and people who, again, won't be successful in future. Thank you so much, Minister of Finance, Mr. Smotrich.